Welcome back to what could be the most random episode of Suburban Sex yet. Tonight we have my lovely bride Reagan
Whoop whoop.
joining the show.
I missed you guys.
Welcome
So Reagan,
back.
this is your chance to
Appreciate
catch
ya.
up and share all your thoughts and feelings. It's been a long time since you've been on the show.
It's been a minute.
Mm-hmm. You were busy watching the kids.
Somebody's got to.
I know. But now
It's a hard
Netflix
job.
can.
Netflix has been my friend.
Yeah.
They've been watching this show, Ricky, Nikki, Dawn, and Licky and Flicky, and there's all these Nickies and Rickies.
No, that is not what it's called.
I don't know what it's called, but it's Nikki, Ricky,
That's
Nicky,
the
and something.
You
other
said Licky and Flicky? Come
I
on.
don't know. I mean,
This is a children's show.
it's not a good. It's just too many ickies involved, in my
Oh.
opinion.
Are you sure it's not Teeny
Yeah.
Ping? Because that's what our kids are watching. Teeny Ping. Yeah.
That
all
also
weird.
could sound PG-13.
Yeah, I know.
We haven't dipped our toe in that water yet.
Don't is my response.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, we're so
Yeah.
glad to have you back.
I am so happy to be back.
Oh, good. Good. We certainly need to do like a little edits episode as you review everything that your
Mhm.
husband has shared about your very private sex life on the air to more than 10 countries at this point.
More than 10.
We just added
Wow.
Austria.
We're
and Kenya.
international.
Yeah.
Broadcasting around the world.
Suburban Sex Worldwide.
That's right.
Exactly.
Worldwide.
I think he's learned his lesson a little bit because on the core 4, he definitely came to me and said, "What do I put here?"
What do I say? Fill in the
So-
blanks.
What am I supposed to say here?
He's trying to.
No, that's good. That's how husbands should be.
safe.
We should all be trying, right? That's kind of the
Mhm.
crux of this whole
Yep.
little project of ours.
Mhm.
But yes,
This little passion project.
a little passion project. Speaking of passion, the ironic part of this one is like where is the passion at the moment? So I feel like Brad and I were talking about this before too. I feel like I don't know if there's something in the water, if they're like post eclipse, something's going on. I don't know what's happening, but I just
Mhm.
feel the moon
The
pull.
tide
Yeah.
is low.
The tide is low.
Mhm. It's a low tide.
Horniness is
Yeah.
in retrograde.
Yeah, it's been kind of a lull for us, but
Yeah.
I've been trying. Like I'm like trying to get out of my head and trying to do different things, try different things, and we just watched a sexy movie last night to kind of get out of that. But we can talk a little bit about that too. But are you guys kind of feeling the same?
We are in a super dry spell right now that
Mhm.
Remy reminds me of.
Mm.
I think like every 2 to 3 days, which is really kind considering
Doesn't want you to forget.
considering
Bi-weekly calendar update. Just
there
to let
was
you
a
know it's
time
been a while.
previously in our marriage where I would be reminded multiple times a day if we were
Oh,
going
yeah.
through a dry spell. So
That
the
sounds
fact
right.
that he only mentions this every 2 to 3 days, because I think that after being married as long as we have, he understands the mental load that it takes to be a wife and mother, which I'm grateful for because I know that not every husband in
Right.
this stage of life understands that.
Mhm.
But when the mental load is extra heavy, which it is for me right now, he understands it on a logical level, but on a male arousal level, he will never understand it. So I feel like he's constantly at war between his brain and his penis.
Oh, that sounds about right.
As all men are.
As all men are.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Now, this sounds very familiar. I
But at least he's
understand this
aware
in
of it.
full. Yeah. Yeah. And so natural. Like this is kind of part of the process, and
Yep.
the imbalance that we knew going into our marriages in having an imbalanced libido between each of us.
I don't think Remy knew that we had an imbalanced libido when
Oh,
we got
really?
married. I don't think he
Okay.
knew that. Did you?
Well, when we first started dating, you used to talk about how great your libido was. And
Yeah,
that
because
was,
I was
yeah.
22.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, she's got a high libido too. This works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I was feeling 22.
Yeah, you were.
Now I'm feeling 42. Them's the breaks, kid.
Mm.
It's like our last episode. Get what you get and you don't throw a fit. I
That's
mean,
Love that.
I've
right.
learned a lot, you know? I mean, I really have because, you know, I used to take it very personally. I mean, we've talked about it
Very,
on the show because
very.
if like she's not into me, well, why doesn't she want me? She used
Mm-hmm.
to want me. So it took a lot of personal work to move past the point where you take that personal. And it's
Right.
really just understanding where your partner's at. And we've talked about
Mm-hmm.
that some in the past, but yeah, it's a lot of growth or self growth and personal work it takes to kind of remove yourself from the emotions of that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, you
And
ever felt that?
oh yeah.
He just smiles.
Yeah.
He just
Earlier
smiles.
today.
We used to get into fights over her not
Mhm.
wanting sex.
Actual fights. He
Same.
Like,
slammed his hand on the table, and I'm
yeah.
like 8 months pregnant with our second child. Yeah. Oh
I hope that
yeah.
stung your hand for a good long
I
while
know.
afterwards.
Because 8-month pregnant me was crying
Oh,
in the
yeah. We've
closet
gotten into
later.
fights.
Oh hell no. Mm-mm.
Hey, nobody fights about sex or money. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
We've done better though. I don't think we fought about sex in a while.
No, because you've learned it doesn't get you anywhere other than less
Yeah.
sex.
It
Like
really
less
doesn't do.
than it's like negative. Like then it's like you want to kill my libido even more. Try to fight with me about our sex life and
Right.
see if you get more sex that way. So I think
Mhm.
you've learned your lesson. Um, but I know that it still bothers you, and I hate that it bothers you. But it's not anything. It's not. I think you understand logically. It's not a direct reflection on you or my love for you or desire for you, but it is a reflection of what I'm experiencing in my life, and the mental load is so heavy that I can't get to the point where intimacy is an option for me in that moment. And I hate that. I wish I didn't have a high mental load, and I wish I didn't go through dry spells. I wish everything was hunky dory all the time. That's what I would prefer, but it's
Yeah.
just not reality, unfortunately. I know
Sorry,
it's not
dear.
sexy or cute, but
I'm a little slow. It only took years of counseling, therapy,
over
and
a decade.
self
This
work
is now
to
a self-help
figure it out.
podcast.
But I mean, the fact that you were willing to go to counseling
Mhm.
and work through it, Remy, says a lot. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of men out there just don't realize that can be part of the process. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with your marriage or wrong with you. It's
No.
simply that you're going to go through dry spells, and it's not like it was when you were in your 20s. That's life. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we have to trust the marriage and trust each other in the process. When I have a dry spell, I've said it to Brad almost every time that I cannot orgasm when we have sex or when I turn him down before sex.
Mm.
It's not you. I'm sorry. I've got a lot of things open in my head, a lot of
Mhm.
boxes open, a lot of browser tabs open, whatever you want to say. I'm just not having it. I'm feeling stressed, and these are the reasons I'm feeling stressed. And usually his go-to is, "Well, tell me about it," because he knows if I have like a mini therapy session with him, if I just talk it out with him a little bit, that helps make sure that he feels connected to me. I feel
Mhm.
connected to him. And even if we don't have sex then we at least have added to our bond. Brad has a
Mhm.
question. Please, sir.
Y'all both said that you're in a dry spell. So I'm just wondering if y'all want to share what a dry spell for you is, because people listening may not know. Maybe a dry spell is only having it once a month. Maybe a dry spell is
Mm,
not having it twice a week. I mean, y'all want
I
to
think it
elaborate?
depends on what's your normal. I think every couple is a little different in their frequency because on paper, the male sex drive is higher than the woman's, but that's not 100% the case all of the time. And just because the man might have a higher sex drive doesn't mean that they want to have it, 3 or 4 times a week. So
Right.
Mhm.
But I'm talking
maybe
about
it's
y'all's personal dry spell.
okay.
What is it normally
Quantify.
and what is it now?
Hmm.
If you want to share that.
Otherwise, we can cut it
I
out.
think I think normally for us is I think, and I will use air quotes for normal when like we're both in a good headspace, right? Where like we're both feeling good. We don't have a super crazy hectic week. Like it's just things are kind of working as they should be.
Mhm.
I would say 2 to 3 times a week, some type of connection between us. 2 to 3 times a week. Maybe that's not normal. Maybe that's like
No,
the goal. Maybe
whatever's
that's our
normal
highest.
for you guys. That's what
Yeah.
I'm interested in.
No, I
So 2
understand,
to
but I don't
3.
know that I can quantify that. I would say 2 to 3
Mhm.
Okay.
is norm,
That
quote
sounds
unquote normal.
comparable to us
Right.
and most of the people we talk to, right?
A dry spell could be a dry spell for us. I would say when I would say we have entered dry spell territory, it's been, according to Remy's definition, would be a week and a half to 2 weeks
Mhm.
where there hasn't been a connection, an intimate
Do you
connection.
guys remember, not counting childbirth, do you guys remember the longest you have gone? Maybe I should direct
Mm.
this question to Remy. Do you remember the longest you've gone, not counting the childbirth months?
'Cause, yeah, I wouldn't even know how to answer that, honey. I'm
Yeah, I
assuming
mean,
you do.
a couple weeks is definitely pretty long for us. So I would
Okay.
say if you go on a month to month average, this month has probably been a lot lower than the past few years. So this is one of our lower the last 30 days if you have a rolling average.
Right.
I think
We're
even
going to
if
start
it's
keeping a spreadsheet.
We're trending down is my point here. We got to turn this thing around. We're
but
going to
we have
hit
some people that
the
don't only do
trough
it
and
once a month, right? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
right, true.
We know folks that do, yeah.
Absolutely.
Everyone is so
Which is,
different.
everyone is so different. I would
Yes.
say outside of like recovering from childbirth, I think the longest our dry spell has been would probably be a month because
Okay.
I remember it. I think there was
you do.
I
Um,
don't know when it was.
when I was out of town for a month, I mean, that's
No,
the only time I can think of a
no,
month.
no. There
Different
was
time.
I think it was around the time either that we moved or like I don't know. There's always a reason for it, right? It's not just like I just don't desire my husband anymore.
Right.
It's like shit's burning down around me, so I need to go to bed because
Mhm.
I got to wake up and deal with this shit again tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. When you're not in the right headspace, you're not you can't just play pretend and
Yeah,
play
and be
sex
sexy.
bot. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't.
We're going to
Sorry,
call this
because
episode Real Talk with Reagan. Some real
mhm.
talk right there.
Because Brad hounded you, Remy, on your
Mhm.
numbers and stats. Brad, please provide us stats on our longest dry spell, if you're
I
counting.
don't think I mean, probably a week or 2. I don't know. I can't really think of any.
Definitely
I
more
can't
than a
think of a
week.
specific, um,
If we
you
skipped a
know
weekend, and I was typically a weekend sex kind of wife, then if we skipped a weekend, that would be a 2-week span. So
yeah.
that one, that's an easy
We've
Easy
skipped
answer.
yes.
weekends
Yeah.
before.
But
I
I
mean, not
don't know if
frequently,
it's
but
been 3 weeks. I just don't remember. I figured you would have
no,
remembered.
no.
Yeah.
And it probably hasn't been
Because like
'cause Brad would have
you
remembered.
Yeah, he would have. He would have written that shit down.
That's
to
in the spreadsheet.
I know.
to Addie's credit, she's like, well, it's been too long. I don't even want it,
Yeah.
but he needs it, so I'm just gonna
Yes. And
just
I
take
feel
it.
like I I I feel like I'm out of the norm on this, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. Reagan, I don't know if we just I don't know how women, if it's all women or just me and my female brain is wired, but yes, I mean I count. I know how often we have sex in a week and I know when the last time we had sex was.
Mhm.
So I will feel not
Mhm.
guilty because he does not put that guilt on me, but I feel like, oh, well, our norm has been about this. So let me try again. Let me see if I can do something um tonight. And the dry spell I'm referring to, at least for me at this moment, is not necessarily that we've had less, maybe we have had less sex, but I don't know. But I've had less orgasms. I
Mhm.
mentally I could not get there. So yes,
Mhm.
maybe I
Less
try.
enjoyable
Yeah,
for
Mhm.
you.
it's I try, and after a little bit I'm like, "Okay, I want you to come so bad." You know, I use whatever words that don't,
Yeah.
because if I make it sound like I and maybe this is a good one, Reagan, for us to talk too, because I don't know if I immediately sound like I'm not into it, then he's not into it. So, but
Mhm.
and my
Yeah.
goal, if we've already started, and I know I can't finish, I'm like, you better fucking
Somebody's got
finish
to.
at this point.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
already in it. We're halfway there.
Yeah.
Just please.
Make it worth somebody's time at
I
least.
know exactly. So I try to kind of like, oh, I want you to come so bad,
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
but
called the get it over with move.
yes, but
Mhm.
I
You
at least
gotta get
don't
a new
say
get
get
it
it
over
over
with
with.
mode.
No, you
You gotta
don't.
get a
You
new
don't.
you gotta get a new phrase, Addie.
I
You
know I
gotta
do,
you
I
gotta
need
switch
something
it out
else.
every so often, you know what I
Yes,
mean? So
because
that
otherwise he's like,
like, have
"Oh,
a
shit."
rotation on a
Mhm.
different spreadsheet.
"What do
So
you
you're saying there's
use?"
multiple types of dry spells. You have one where you're
Yeah.
just not feeling it, but I think
Mhm.
our dry spells, it's just not on her mind because
No.
life is so crazy. And part why we started this podcast was, if we talk about it more, it'll be on our mind more, and
LOL.
we'll want it more. Which is true. I mean, the more you talk about it with girl talk, you want it more often.
Yeah.
But sometimes, at
She just
least,
needs more of her girls. Reagan, that's
exactly,
all it is.
That is the problem.
we're gonna work
Yeah.
on that.
You're not here having happy hour with me talking about our sex lives.
Truer
Jeez.
words. You don't even know how, like, hard you hit the nail on the head with that one. Like,
It's true. Our
so
sex life
hard.
has diminished since moving to the West Coast.
What?
So, so got
Has
to
it
get back to
diminished?
the.
I don't feel like it's
Well,
diminished.
no, just because you haven't had your girls, so we're gonna
I feel
remedy
like my
that.
mental health is diminished
Yes,
because
Mhm.
I don't have the outlets that I had previously,
you had a lot of
Right.
outlets,
and
lots of
that
friends.
affects all aspects of my life,
Mhm. Yeah.
including in the bedroom.
And mama, if your mental health is not there, that is
It
number
affects
one
everything.
priority. You've got
Mhm.
to make sure that you're good, that you're
Yeah.
balanced, that you're feeling good. And
Yeah.
and I mean, I would say the same for our husbands too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
truly, between each of
Absolutely.
us,
For
we've got to
anybody,
make
any
sure that we're
parent.
in a good spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for all our
Yeah.
listeners out there, one of the things that we have been good at over the past few years is we do encourage our partners to go out with their girlfriends, to have solo time with their friends alone. We do group events together
Solo
with
play, if you will.
We are not doing
different
solo
kind
play
of
when we're out with her
solo
friends.
play.
Wait, what? I
Girls' nights, go out, get a drink. Not necessarily
think we have different
solo play.
definitions.
I mean,
Brad
that's
wishes
a
that
whole different kind of party.
Yeah,
he's thinking that we're doing like topless pillow fights still. That's
we
Is
do.
still
that what happens on girls' nights?
We do
every time.
every time.
Wow.
We just go somewhere and
Hey, have you tried the Hitachi? Here, let me help you. Let me show you how
no,
it works.
the first sentence is correct. The second sentence has never been uttered. I'm gonna
This
stop
is
you
in
right
his
there.
this is in his own little dream world.
Oh, yes, that's exactly what happens, Brad. You also hit the nail very hard on the head.
Patty,
So
try my Hitachi. I turned it off. It's ready to go. It's all charged up. Spread your legs. I'll show you how you work.
So, Addie, you shared a post with me this week, and it wasn't so much the post that was interesting to me, but one of the comments. It was about a couple who weren't necessarily getting along, but the comment that someone made, she said, "I really believe that men want sex to feel like everything is okay, and women don't want sex until they feel like everything is okay." Such an interesting concept when you think about what we've been talking about, because it's such a opposite spectrum. So when we're in a dry spell, I'm looking for intimacy to feel close to her and to make us feel secure, where
Mhm.
she wants the world to be perfect before sex is even possible. So at the end of the day, if the woman ain't happy, nobody's happy.
I feel like it's unfair to say that I want the world perfect because I know that that's not possible.
Okay.
Right.
Um, but sometimes the outer noise is deafeningly loud that I can't quiet enough space for intimacy.
Mhm.
And I hate that. I don't want the noise. It's not something that I enjoy or want in my life whatsoever, but sometimes there's just no space for it.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I don't want that.
Goes back to Addie's box theory. Too many open boxes. You got to
Too
close the
many.
Yeah.
tabs.
Yeah.
It's
And
not easy.
some of the boxes are just too big too. If
Yeah.
if you're not if you're not happy with some of the big key items in your life, where you're living, your work, because that takes up the majority of our time. If there's
Something's
something
happening with
happening
one of
with
your
the
kids.
kids,
Yeah.
yes. Like there's so many of those boxes that end up being so much bigger in your brain, and if those are all open around the same time, that is so difficult to get out of that mental space. And I sent that to you, Remy, because I don't think truer words have been spoken. I feel like
Mhm.
when we need to feel connected, it's a chicken or the egg scenario. He needs it in order to feel connected, but I need other things to be more level and balanced before I can connect with him. And even
Yeah.
like as we were trying to remedy this in the last couple of weeks, it's like I needed more physical touch. So I this sounds I mean we did a little bit of the massage table. We've got a massage table, it doesn't matter if you have a table or not, but like just having extra touch. But I knew it was leading to sex, and I think what I needed was just to not have it lead to sex. Like I maybe just
Mm,
touch
mhm,
each other or cuddle each other, or
mhm.
just, have some time together holding hands and talking. I think the physical and mental touch, or sorry, physical and mental connection, I guess, is what I need to get myself there. It doesn't necessarily close my boxes, but it helps me feel more connected where I can even be more open to sex as an option.
Mhm.
So, girls, what would be some advice for if you were giving your best friend advice if she's in the middle of a similar dry spell? What would you suggest to kind of trend out of that or start turning the ship? And we know a boat doesn't turn fast. It can be a slow process, but how do you change the direction you're going if you're in a dry spell?
I feel like the men need the advice more than the women because I think I used to take it a lot more or not personally, but I think I used to feel a lot more responsible for dry spells because like I was the one that wasn't wanting it or reciprocating or into it. And I felt like it was my fault. I felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like there was something flawed with my sex drive. I needed to get my hormones checked or something. But I think after this long, I've realized this is a normal part of life, a normal part of
Right.
marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there are so many pressures on humans in general that I don't necessarily know that the human body was created for the amount of stress and stimulus and things coming at us that we receive. So like we're operating in a way that I don't necessarily know the human body was designed to to inhabit, to live.
Mm-hmm.
So, but after this long and after being through more than one dry spell, I know that nothing lasts forever, right? Um, this too shall pass. I think
Right.
there's this awesome thing where Tom Cruise, I don't or not Tom Cruise, scratch that from the record. Tom Hanks. That
Very
is the
different
correct
toms.
Tom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the correct Tom. And he's saying this too shall pass, but he's saying it in a way where if you're going through a great time, it's temporary. If you're going through a bad time, it's temporary. It's all temporary. And so when
Yeah.
we go through these times, which I know cause stress to Remy, and I know that he doesn't like, and I know it's a challenge, but I also know that it's temporary. I know that the dust will settle, the tide will even out, and we'll be able to connect again like we did before. So you just kind of got to wait it out. But you also have to understand as a woman that like you don't get to stay in that space, right? This isn't like a
Right.
this isn't a
An
I don't want to say it
excuse.
this way, but I'm going to
Yeah.
say it this way. This is not a get out of jail free card. Like you
Right.
don't get to stop making an effort just because you went
Mm-hmm.
through a hard time. You've got to understand that okay, you're having a rough couple weeks because life, but
Right.
then you got to come back and connect with your spouse again. You can't get
Mm-hmm.
stuck in that space. So,
So true. Absolutely. Wh- If we're not giving ourselves enough grace in the process,
mhm,
then we're only adding
mhm,
more pressure, which honestly
mhm.
just pulls me further away from Brad.
Absolutely.
I I I want to do it less if I feel even more pressured for it.
Mhm,
So I would say in those moments, the connection it that's not as physical to sex, but maybe the connection that is physical more so to intimacy. So with holding
mhm,
hands or back rubs or just being close to each other without the TV on. Some people see that
mhm,
as time together if you're sitting together watching a movie, but I personally do not feel as connected to him and unless I'm like engaged with him. So I would
mhm,
say no screen and you just kind of are together, you're spending time and any sort of physical touch, but so long as some of that is still in play, then it shows you're trying, even if you're not trying to have sex as regularly. But I think it's important because you could. I feel like if I wasn't having sex for multiple weeks at a time, like I probably could be okay with that. I would be okay with
yeah,
that. I could
yeah,
probably go months, and I hate Brad does not want to hear this. He's gonna scratch this from the record and delete it from the edits. But it's true. I don't
yeah,
have a higher libido where like I have a sex podcast, yet
right.
I I I I have to make an effort and I enjoy the effort for the most part. I really do, but
Mhm,
it's not as natural for me. So it's fun to try new things and talk about it more and all of that is what helps me stay excited about it and enjoying it, but I could absolutely go multiple weeks and months without it and
same.
I feel like I could absolutely I don't know. I feel like that without providing that sort of level of effort with Brad, that could go downhill pretty quick. So
Mhm,
there still has to
mhm,
be the effort and play, even if it's not having sex. But
right.
to that concept, we should flip it, Reagan. We have to flip it too because
Mhm,
yes, we we need things to be in a better spot before we can be intimate. But let's flip it back to the first part of that statement. Men need to feel, they feel
Mhm.
connected when you are intimate. So, Brad and Remy, I would like to hear from you on, besides sex, and maybe it's only sex, and you can make that your answer too. But is it only sex, or are there other ways besides sex that would help us feel more intimate with each other if we're in a dry spell? Like, what would help you so
You mean
you
like
don't think that
blowjobs?
That's always helpful.
you're not
Can I
helping?
can I say something really quick?
Mhm.
Because this is something that I notice when we're going through a dry spell is there are nights where we'll go get in bed and he's like, I'm exhausted. I got to go to sleep. And he might do that a couple times, right? And then when he's no longer exhausted, and then he's like, ready to go. And I'm like, no, because now I'm exhausted because you went to bed the last couple nights and I had to do the extra stuff.
Mhm.
And now I'm tired. And so then I feel responsible that I'm now tired in the moment where he has decided that he feels up to having it. And so I feel like there's something to that too, where it's like women aren't the only ones that experience days or multiple days where they're tired or life
True.
gets hectic or whatever the case may be. But as soon but women can go longer, with being
Right.
okay with that. But as soon as the man is like, oh, I'm good now, we should be having sex. And you're like, no, not necessarily. It's not necessarily correct.
Mhm.
But I feel like men have at least in our situation, where it's like, wait a minute, you were tired the last 2 nights. So how is this my fault all of a sudden?
Right.
So at the beginning of the segment, you said that when you're in a dry spell that men need to do something different or to learn something or to respond differently. What are you meaning by that? What can guys do better while their partner is in a dry spell?
This too shall pass.
Okay.
In the words of the great Tom Hanks,
Mhm.
Tom Hanks.
this too shall pass.
It will. It will, but I'm going to go back to my question to Brad and Remy.
Yes.
What would it take for you two, Brad, besides blowjobs and sex, if we're in a dry spell and you know it will pass, you know I love you, you
Mhm.
know that we will get back to a fun sex life again. It may not just be today or even next week, we don't know. But is there something that would help you either in that moment or in that week if we're not having sex? What would help to make sure you felt that intimacy overall to help us get through it?
I don't think there's like a easy substitute for sex with your wife. I mean, I think it's just at some point you have to grow up and say, hey, th- this is not happening today, and it may not happen next week, and we're gonna get through this. And you know, it,
So not even
it's not
like
like
spooning or something? There's
no,
nothing I can do that would
no.
really?
If you're not putting out, you think spooning's gonna
Yeah,
be fine?
but like really, you don't feel as connected to me until we have sex or I blow you. Is that the crux of this? Because then I'm putting this microphone down and no one's going to hear from me.
I mean,
Ever again.
No,
like hand
like,
jobs. I mean,
jeez. Oh my God. No, not hand jobs. Seriously. Remy, please. Do you have
So
anything
one
better?
thing that Reagan will do, frequently, at least for me, on nights when she's clearly not feeling it,
I can't
she
fake it. I'm not good at faking.
I
yes,
don't
I
want to
don't want her
fake
to
it.
fake it.
I feel like
That's
it's
just
bad for our
horrible.
marriage if
Yeah.
I fake it.
I,
I,
I, I
I don't
like
do
it
it.
is impossible for me to be fake in a general sense in life,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing she'll do that's nice is that
It's nice.
she'll say, "Hey, can I scratch your back?" And she'll scratch my back until I fall asleep. Of course, a lot of times she's reading, so she's kind of
Not
distracted.
a lot of times,
But
just like sometimes.
but what guys are looking for, I think, at least me, it's, if your love language is physical touch, that kind of gets me there. And you have to figure out what your partner's love language is.
Right.
Some guys just need that praise. They need the words of affirmation. They
Mhm.
need you to stroke their ego. For me, I
Mhm.
need the physical touch, which is why sex is a big deal for me. But she will scratch my back, and that's helpful. I mean, obviously it's not a substitute, but and then she'll do more hugs. That's helpful. I mean, certainly to Brad's point, it's not the same, but
No.
what we're looking for is that intentional time, and more than anything, it's understanding where we're at, verbalizing, hey, I understand that you need this, and I'm sorry that I'm not there. I want to be there for you. But it's showing that you actually get where we're at.
Mhm.
Just like, we have to do a better job as men at understanding, okay, she's mentally taxed. This is not her night. I need to be there for her. I hope the women can understand, or whoever the partner is with the lower libido, and it could be the man who is not interested, but the woman is, to understand, hey, I know you want me and I love that, but today is not the night. How can I show you I love you in other ways? But it's just understanding, I think, would go a long way. Because when I take it personally, I'm like, man, she just doesn't. She's not even thinking about me. She's not even thinking about me in that way. Maybe I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
But to our defense, we're not thinking about anybody that way.
Yeah.
It it's not that I'm thinking about somebody else.
Right.
And I think that that's where we've kind of grown a lot in our marriage, where we realize, okay, this is not me rejecting him. It's a me rejecting something that I can't physically do right now.
Mhm. And
So I
So in
scratch his
my
back instead.
journey, I went
yeah.
to not only therapists, I also went to some sex coaches. Just 'cause
Okay.
I thought they were going to teach me the moves and how to be more, to make this everything work. But a lot of
Rico
it
Suave.
was mostly self work and understanding myself and understanding her and how to understand the female psyche. And it was journaling. It was things that most guys aren't going to want to do,
Yeah.
but that's really what kind of helped me shift, going to some of these people to kind of help me change my own perspective. So the sex coaches were not teaching me sex moves. They weren't teaching me how to get her in the mood. It was more how to understand her and how to understand myself. So
Get in
Mhm.
our
just in
head.
case you're
Yeah.
trying to do that, or if you're in a place where you're not connecting with your partner and you're thinking, well, maybe I would see a sex coach, you got to be prepared, because it's going to be a lot of work on yourself. And I think at the end of the day, when you're going through marital problems, long-term relationship problems, most of the answer is working on yourself, not necessarily
Mhm.
fixing your partner.
Right. And I think a lot of that work is also how you react to each other. Back in
Mhm.
our early days,
Mhm.
I mentioned he slammed his hand down on a table and got very angry with me about not wanting it as much as I should want it. And now, I mean, we don't talk to each other like that, but that was
Mhm.
his initial reaction. And I think understanding where you both are in the process and being able to talk to each other. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, just like have a little bit more perspective outside of what's in your own head for a minute. That goes for both sides. I
Mhm.
can't be fussing at him just because he wants it either. That's going to get a
Right.
negative reaction out of him too.
Right.
I Remy, to your point of like I need to be understanding and see that that's how he feels love from me. And if I'm not giving it to him, then maybe he feels like I'm not giving him love. Okay, let me take a step back because that's clearly not how I want him to feel. But I also need to understand that that's how he is feeling. So, like, I
Mhm.
can't change him.
And that's valid. He's allowed
Yes.
we're all allowed to feel how we feel. Our feelings are
Yes.
valid and are important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
So, Addie, I am
it's a good
curious about
conversation.
something.
Mm-hmm.
You've kind of you made a point that you guys are in the middle of a dry spell. However, you did mention you watched a sexy movie. I'm trying to understand, like, if we're in a dry spell, her watching a sexy movie is not likely. How did you, or was that part of your attempt to get out of
That's
it?
That's part of
How
my
did
own
you get
attempt. Yeah,
there? Okay.
that's part of my own attempt. Well, he sent the link, and we'll add it to the show notes, of like 50 plus movies, regular movies that are not porn, but they have really sexy porn-ish type of scenes. And some of them I'd seen before. It's like 50 Shades of Grey. We've heard that one. Unfaithful. There, that one's a really hot one. But she's cheating on her husband, so maybe I don't
That guy ends up.
recommend that one
Yeah.
just yet. But let me see. Eyes Wide Shut. Everyone knows that one. Basic Instinct. Black Swan has like a sex scene in it. Wild Things. So there's some like that. It's a whole list of movies that are, again, not porn, but and it's not sex the whole time, but it has just a little scene that will kind of get you thinking about it. That's all. Um so yeah, so he'd shared that before, and we watched 365 Days. It's on Netflix. It's essentially a gangster who it just happens to be ripped with amazing abs, a billionaire, and a gangster with lots of sexy tattoos. I
All
mean,
billionaires are ripped and
oh yeah.
abs,
And
I'm
and
sure.
he happened to just be pining over this woman so badly that he kidnapped her for 365 days and
Don't
said,
recommend that for our listeners at home.
I do not either. But the whole premise is that he's a billionaire and he kidnaps her and says, if you don't fall in love with me after 365 days, then you can go free. I mean, come on. But but it was funny because the whole time Brad had commentary, and this is why I'd never watch rom-coms with him. He ruins everything that I watch, that I, like, wanna cry to, that I want to think is, I know it's not real life, but Jesus, like, let me enjoy this for 1 damn minute. But instead, the whole
Brad,
time he's like,
maybe if you would be quiet, just see what happens. I don't know. Maybe just keep your mouth shut
I know.
and just see if it benefits you.
I thought she liked
If
to
she can
hear him
feel her
talk.
feelings in those
She's
moments.
always
I
wanted him
was
to talk
I
more.
was very quiet in all the sex scenes.
In the sex scenes, he was, but
All
every
of the
other scene,
scenes
he's
you need to
like,
be quiet.
uh-huh. All the other scenes, he's like, "Am I ruining this for you? Haha." Yeah.
The answer is
Yeah,
yes.
you
You have to
are.
ask the question. It's a yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, okay, so I did not know that
Same.
there were movie versions of romance novels.
And that's what this
And this
is.
is and this
Mhm.
is like the most uh fancy, well-produced version of a romance novel that I I've ever seen. I mean, I didn't know this stuff was out there. So it's
Yeah.
basically soft core porn. You don't see any of the naughty bits. You see boobs and butts. That's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, they go at it frequently. Like
Yeah.
I've seen Skinamax, and that that shit's kind of cheap, and I don't know.
Yeah. It
This one
kinda
was well done. I mean,
yeah.
it's a terrible script, but
Mhm.
it's hilariously ridiculous.
So it
So I
has
had
a
to comment on that.
3.3 out of 10 on IMDb.
Well, yeah, because people are watching it thinking it's like a serious movie. It's
No,
not a
it's not a
serious
serious
movie.
movie, no.
Mm,
It's a romance novel
Yeah.
in video.
Right, right.
Are you
Like,
going
a
to watch the
ridiculous
next
premise.
365 days that comes out on August
We're gonna
19th?
watch all of them.
We are, because
I feel
we
like we should have a live stream watching party or something.
Yes! That'd be fun. No,
And
we
just be
we
like, I'm sorry, hold please. We need to use one of your bedrooms because
All right, but they said it's just this movie didn't lead them to a
No,
successful.
yeah, it was a fail. It was still a fail
You said
because
oh,
I'm
this
in a
was a
dry
fail.
okay.
spell. So it was me trying to get sex back in my head and try to calm the other boxes down, and maybe this would help. But I will also say I'm not a nighttime sex person at the moment.
Mhm.
I'm a mom of youngish kids, and my go-to is when I have enough energy, which is mornings or afternoons. It is not at midnight, which was when this movie ended. Midnight.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, come on.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, I don't know, but I will say, the just because he didn't get laid for us watching this movie does not mean that those images are not still up here in my brain.
Mhm.
So, maybe some of that will come back to me at some point. But,
So was he like a dominating type? I'm assuming it was a
a little
tone
Dude,
sub
bit.
he
type
kidnapped
vibe.
her.
Yeah, he
Well,
kidnapped
that's
her.
what I'm guessing.
No, he was very passive.
Well, 50 Shades. In the book, he was very dominating. But in 50 Shades of Grey, the
He didn't
movie,
hit her
I mean,
with a
there's not
leather
much
whip.
Yeah.
dominating happening. It's all romancing. I mean,
Yeah. It's mostly romancing. Yeah. There's one piece where he
So
ties her up, but that's it.
yeah.
when we were talking about these movies earlier, I got a text with the link from not only my husband, but also Brad. So
Hey,
I
man,
Hey.
he's looking out for the home team. Come on now.
I
Uh-huh.
appreciate their efforts.
Amen.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I mean, it's like what you were talking about before with like Game of Thrones or, just
Mhm.
random sex scenes. Some of these movies are better than others, so scroll through the list because there could be something good out there. But either way, like it's just good to kind of keep in the bank, you know?
Mhm.
It so long as
A
there's no
spank bank.
expectation. Yeah, it's our own little spank bank. And so long as our husbands do not have the expectation of, hey, we're going to watch one of these and have sex afterwards. Like Brad had to
Mhm.
deal with the fact that there was no sex afterwards, but
Mhm.
we watched it. We tried it. We
Mhm.
joked about it. It's part of a conversation. It's a shared experience, whatever.
Mhm.
And we'll watch another one. We'll probably watch the next 365 days whenever there's 2 more, by the way. There's
Oh.
2 subsequent 365 days. We'll probably watch it. But it's good to have that shared experience, but I mean, I'm trying in different ways so long as there's not an expectation of something
Mhm.
else happening. And let me tell you what
Mhm.
else. Let me tell you what else that I've tried. Brad, whatever love potion you bought me, he had me buy some sort of love potion. I think it's like a CBD lotion
Mm.
that you put on yourself in
Oh
order
yeah.
to feel something.
Yeah.
He's
Did it work?
laughing. I'm sitting in it right now. I'm like he was hoping something would happen.
I have
Not
some that'll work.
oh. Okay.
Well, I don't just feel it by itself, but
Okay.
when there's friction involved,
Ah.
We
Okay.
bought a
then it's
special THC lube
extra
instead of
tingly.
But
CBD.
wait, what were you about to say about it?
Oh, nothing's happening. That's all.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
end.
It's ineffective.
It's not
Maybe
exciting.
try a toy later and see if it's better.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have some THC.
Okay. Yeah. Ours is like a CBD whatever version.
it's called Vela, if anyone wants to know.
Well, they don't want to know because I'm saying it's
Yeah,
not
it's
working
it.
right now.
But we're open for sponsorship.
I know.
Absolutely.
So
Oh my
in
god,
that
it's
case, it
so
works
hot.
great.
Yeah. And I tried another thing the other night too. That whatever that honey spoon thing is, there was something that is basically honey, and I put it into a hot tea or something. And that was also supposed to get me more aroused. And I'm not
No, but wait.
what?
These products are not supposed to turn your unturned on brain
Yeah,
into
that's the
horny
problem.
sex kitten.
That's the
It's
problem.
supposed to help
Yeah.
when you start rubbing and doing things to
Right.
your
Mhm.
To make
parts.
Mhm.
it feel better
Right.
than it did.
It
Right.
increases
More
blood flow,
intense.
or as the salesman told me when I bought the THC lube, it's a pussy high. So
I
Oh.
can attest to that.
Okay.
it's true.
Okay.
But you have to do something to make it
Yeah.
do what it does.
Right. And you gotta be, like, mentally there. I think that's the
You have to
problem.
be
If we could
mentally
just find the easy button for women, that would be
Then you know
we'd
what?
be
We will be millionaires.
bajillionaires.
Mhm. But
We'll buy
that's
a
a
yacht.
more accurate estimate of a billionaire.
And then I'll be the billionaire on the boat that's ripped with abs, because
That's
I'm a billionaire.
right.
What
That's
happens when you
right.
become a billionaire?
Obviously, because you have a personal trainer and you work out 4 hours a day. Oh, man.
It's
So
fine.
so I mean, we've tried a little bit of the movies, the honey spoon,
Mhm.
the whatever love potion, but it still all boils down to being in the mood and getting those boxes closed in your head to get there. But Reagan, I think between having more girls' nights, that's gonna help overall for us to just
1,000,000%.
yeah, uh-huh. For us to just be able to break away from all of the responsibility and everything that is a stressor at the moment. I think that always helps to just kind of step away from real life for a bit. But other than that, I think we've kind of rounded things out here. I mean, we know we're in short-lived stages. It's
Mhm.
not going to last forever. And so long as
Mhm.
we are communicating with our spouse as to how we're feeling and being open to how they're feeling as well. I mean, the crux of it is that we're just going to have to deal with this shit sometimes.
Mhm.
If we
Mhm.
want to stay married for the next 50 years, we're just going to have to deal with this sometimes.
You
Yeah.
validate each other's feelings, you
Yeah.
communicate your feelings, you feel safe enough to communicate those and they're validated, and just realize that it's temporary and this too
Yeah.
shall pass.
It
Or you
And
can
it
will.
try
will.
Brad's technique, weekly blowjobs.
That's plan. I don't feel like it's plan
It's not
B
even
or C. I'm
Z.
gonna put it, yeah, I'm gonna put it lower down on the alphabet, but that's a way you could go.
It's not a way we go, but sure.
No, we
He
don't
can
endorse this,
he can
but
sure try.
can't
Oh
blame a Brad
goodness.
for trying.
I know, right? It's Brad. We we
Mhm.
we kind of love him. He
Yeah.
does all right.
Well, we've kind of dominated the conversation tonight. We'd love to hear from our listeners a little bit. We'd love to hear stories about what got you out of a sexual dry spell. If there's sexy movies that you've liked that's not on this list, certain scenes that have done it for you, you can hit us up on our Gmail. You can hit us up at Instagram. We'd love to hear if there's a specific movie that we should check out. That would be great. We would certainly check it out and report back.
Reagan, thanks so much for sharing your dry spell with us. I know it's not really a fun one to talk about, but it's just so real. It's just this is
It's
real
part of
life.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Dose
our
of reality for the listeners.
yeah, like it's good to talk about the fun ways that we keep things spicy in our own suburban marriages, but that's not what we're thinking about 24/7 and we've just kind of we've got to hit all angles here. So, I appreciate your candor here.
Absolutely.
It is called suburban sex, and sometimes there are dry spells in the suburbs.
Mhm. Mhm.
Probably more than other
It's
places.
time to make it rain, baby.
But I feel like the
Good
more we
luck.
talk about the fun and the more we talk about the real, the more we understand that we're all kind of on the same page and just
Yeah.
we're all just doing the best we can. And I know that I have a great partner and we're growing and learning every day. And I know that ultimately this dry spell will end and it will be, as Remy said, raining. It's raining.
I love it.
Amen.
Oh,
I love you guys.
Brad. Love you. Thanks for joining,
Mwah.
Reagan. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.